live here, and there we go. All right, let's wait for a few people to trick in, but welcome back, fellas. We're back,
Let's
pregame
go.
show. UVA, Boston College. Huge matchup where I think everyone watching the game is on this broadcast. So that should be fun.
Nowhere else I would rather be. It's about 7 degrees outside. It doesn't even snow here anymore. My brother's in the Gulf of America. Sorry,
That's right, Gulf of
he's
America.
in the Gulf. Down there by what is it, Destin and stuff in the Gulf of Florida, and they have like 4 inches and like great
Gulf
snow and
of
everything. Yeah, we get like a smattering here, and now it's just black ice everywhere. So
I have a good buddy in Lafayette, Louisiana. They got 11 inches today.
yeah, my mom's now in Galveston, Texas. They got supposedly going to
Yeah.
get 8.
Crazy.
All right, so Boston College, we got Donald Hand Jr.,
Junior.
big star now. And what do you know about him, Fresh? Did he ever even consider? Did Donald? I know Donald Hand didn't have a great experience at UVA because we weren't winning when he was there. He was amazing.
Yeah, I've been
Like,
around Donald a few times, and it's like anybody. If we all played there, we know of each other, know each other, and we hung out at a couple games at JPJ, and he's a funny guy, man. He's from Paterson, New Jersey, which is very urban. It's a tough
Yeah.
area, and that's kind of the way he played, and he's never left that in his heart. Donald's that kind of guy. I know he was. We talk about Rick Brunson a lot now. Not Rick, Jaden, whose dad was Rick, and the way I kind of picture Donald probably brought his son, Donald Hand Jr., up that way and, really tough on him and pushed him and, developed a pretty good, pretty legit basketball player from what we've seen.
Yeah. He looks like a star. He had a breakout year. I feel like this season he's really coming to his own. I know Boston College isn't exactly lighting the world on fire, but they're doing better than UVA, right? They've got what, 9 wins, 10 wins, 10 and 8.
They're right at the same, so we're tied for 16th place in the ACC, both 1 and 6.
Yeah,
They're 9 and 9, so just a little bit better. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you know about them, Dave? What do you know about Boston College?
Yeah, battle for 16th place tonight. We're the two teams with 1 win in the ACC, so gets us out of the almost cellar. Miami's the only team that hasn't won a game yet in the ACC. To answer your question a little bit about Hand too, it was thought that he was kind of a high mid-major, maybe a low D1 kind of guy,
right.
low power 4 at the time. Also, Virginia, I think, didn't have really an opening at his position, kind of that 6'4", 6'5" wing, not true point guard skills out of high school. So I think the concern was, what was he athletically good enough, shooting wise too, which is kind of held up. He's not had great shooting stats in college. Kind of one of those hard guys to know though, because he's been at a really bad teams at Boston College. So even though he's leading the team in scoring, he's shooting 37% from 3, which is pretty good, but 38% overall. So very inefficient scorer. Shoots a lot. Does get to the free throw line some. He shoots. That's where we got to keep him away from the line tonight. He shoots 90% from the free throw line, five attempts a game. So he gets there quite a bit. Nobody else on the team that gets there a lot for them shoots it well from the free throw line. They got a couple of forwards that get there a little bit, Chad Venning and Elijah Strong, but they're in the 60s shooting free throws. So that shouldn't really be an issue for us as far as them getting there. Those are the two second leading scorers. Third leading scorers is Venning. He's a 6'10", kind of plodding big guy, 280. So kind of reminds me a little bit of we talked about back in the day, Bryant Big Country Reeves, if you remember him. And then Strong's kind of an athletic, very strong, just like his name, 6'8", 225 guy out of Charlotte, actually, out of North Carolina, averaging 10 and 5. So those are the three mainstays in their production. And then they go down to 3 guys averaging 6 points, another guy 5, another guy 4. So not a huge lineup. So you would think that we could, if we if we did tonight, hold up on rebounding. Again, those two guys, 6'10" and 6'8", but outside of that, they play a lot of guards, 6'5", 6'3", 6'3", 6'2", 6'5", 6'5". It's
Yeah, look at their
basically their
roster.
lineup. So
Yeah.
its size won't be the issue. I think it's about everybody kind of saying we're all going to rebound tonight and go after the boards.
Yeah, BC is one of those teams, man, that we're better than by more, like by a lot, but we've always had trouble with them, right?
Yeah.
Especially at BC. I went to a game 2 years ago at home, and they were all over us. And they game plan pretty well. And whatever, I think they hit a lot of threes against us, right? Which is what we always say about everybody. Somehow their threes drop and they play the Hoos.
Yeah, they don't have Post anymore. He lit us up. He was really good.
That was a
that's
matchup
right.
nightmare for us. Yeah.
Yeah, Quentin didn't post. He's with the Warriors. Or no, did he go? Yeah, I think he's with the Warriors still.
Yeah. He was
with
Beekman was
East
there for a little bit with them.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I think we're favored by 8.
Oh wow!
But according to Vegas, so we've got the edge there. But I'm not sure what team is going to show up here. I feel like we kind of turned a new leaf in terms of scoring, but defense has just been not great for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 games. What is your take, Dave?
Yeah, I think defensively there's been so many breakdowns. I think we're athletically kind of like last year too. Outside, I mean, at least last year we had Beekman and Dunn. As Phoenix Suns fans have dubbed him the dungeon, putting folks in his dungeon of defense. But outside of that, pretty lacking athletically last year. Those guys covered up a lot. Well, without those two guys, there's nobody to cover up mistakes anymore. Really, the only guy coming in I thought could be a top 5, top 10 conference defender was going to be Worley. And once he left, it really just kind of exposed how unathletic and slow we are. Lengthwise, Saunders, he's listed at 6'8". I think he's 6'6". He's not super quick at that spot either. So I think matchup wise, I'd like to see Saunders more at the 3 sometimes, 10, 15 minutes a game, put in Kofi at the 4 and Buchanan or Robinson at the 5 and let those guys cook a little bit. It's not like any of our guards are standouts that have to play a lot, over other wings anyway. So why not give Saunders a shot down there? It'll cause him to have better matchups, I think, in the post or, even facing up if they need to get down there and double Kofi. But yeah, I think defensively, it just looks like a team that was young and inexperienced being together. Just a lot of slip screens that got to the basket, slow closeouts, which has been a thing at Virginia anyway since the 3-point line expanded. It's harder to get out there with the pack line, but it's easy to forget coming into this year we were going to be one of the youngest teams in the conference, and still with the 50-year COVID year, we had 0 50 years as well, and our oldest guy was Murray, hasn't ever been a rotation guy, right? So. I try to remind myself of that. We're young and we haven't played together before this year, which is always a recipe for very mixed results, right, throughout a season. And then throw in the fact we don't have Worley or Gertrude playing athletically or Bliss at point guard.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you guys remember when the 49ers had all their quarterbacks hurt in that going into the playoffs or a couple years ago, and they had to play with a running back at quarterback. That's kind of reminds me of our team this year. We don't have a quarterback.
Right. We don't.
The results are, college basketball. You better have a quarterback.
Yeah, we've talked about it, Dave. I go away, and the way the game is now, we used to call them point guards. The way I see it more now is the lead guard.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was the lead guard of the Sixers, but he played off the ball where Eric Snow was the point guard. We don't have that lead guard. You can't look for Reese. You can't look for Kihei even. Obviously, we go back to Ty, to Malcolm, even Devin at times, and guys like that. We don't have that stud lead guard. Like we'll talk about Notre Dame next week, but like Marcus Burton type, even if he's not the biggest guy. So it makes it hard. It's funny because I was watching the Louisville game, obviously, and it was the noon game Saturday, and so that's before I started having my Coors Light. So I was very clear. And I was sitting watching the game. I'm like, how is Louisville getting so many mismatches? What are they so good at? And Dave, you nailed it. It was nothing. They were just better at every position.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Hepburn at point guard too.
but I mean, it didn't matter who you switched
Yeah.
off or switched on to, right? It's not like, Malcolm and Devin get a switch, and so they're going to exploit it. I'm just making names up, right? But real names, there's no mismatch. But we just sort of were mismatched everywhere on the court.
Yeah, really athletically and lengthwise, I think we have three guys at their position that are pluses at Virginia right now. And that's Sharma if he's at the 2, not at the 3. That's Robinson at the 5, and that's Kofi at the 4. Those are the 3 guys that are plus if played at the right spots. The problem is they're having to play Kofi at 5, or at least until now. I think we uncovered a little bit. He played some with Robinson and Buchanan on the floor at the same time. Kofi's more a 3 than he is a 5 to me. I think he's a face-up guy that can do some things like a face-up guy. So, in fact, there's rumblings that Kofi is a little bit frustrated having to play the 5 this year. He'd rather play like face-up 4, use his skills. But
he played that way in high school. All the clips that we saw,
he
hang on the ball a lot and things like that.
Yep. He was kind of one of those guys that did it all for his team. He played a little bit of everything. But
like TJ Flower.
Yeah, Saunders has been exposed a little bit for that. He's really not a plus athlete. He doesn't have quick hops. When he gathers, we've seen a couple alley-oops where he gets his elbows up there, but it's a very slow process for him to get up there. So I think that's what's hurt on the rebounding too. He's really effectively a 6'6" guy playing power forward. And then you play with Buchanan, who's also a slow jumper. So he's effectively a 6'8" center with his lack of quick hops. We talked about this in LRA too. About I mentioned Dennis Rodman. It wasn't Rodman's size or his just innate basketball rebounding ability. It was his quick jump, and he actually worked. He did workouts where he practiced watching the ball come off the rim and seeing where it came off the rim. And I think we don't have anybody on our team that's is a natural talent for seeing where that ball comes off the rim and being able to go get it. When you have a whole team of where you don't have anyone like that, like a Justin Anderson, he just had a knack, like for the offensive rebound, tip dunks, those kind of things. Some guys just have a knack for it. Outside of that, if you don't have the knack, then you should be doing drills to figure it out, right? But yeah, when you have a whole team of non-rebounders naturally, then it creates problems.
Yeah, and sometimes people are a step slow, right? Like the rebound comes off, it's in the mix of people, and other guys get to it, and whatever the reason is, that's what I see as well.
Yeah, it's tough when you have, on defense especially, you don't have a lead guard that can sort of guide everyone, and then you don't have an anchor inside. That's a tough combo that we've been so spoiled to have over the years. You got that one really good help defender that can erase some of the mistakes, and you've got one lead guard that can figure things out and to shut down the backcourt. You don't have that now. Now you have to do it by committee, and you don't have that anchor. It's really tough. We're seeing it. Like teams are scoring 80 points, 70 points, and we can't match it. So it's been a real struggle. So.
And that's a game changer, TW. If you remember when we had my coach Jeff Jones on the podcast a few years ago, the old school guys use the term up. So we would do this, and this on defense, and we had Ralph to clean it up.
Yeah,
we don't have a clean it up, right?
No.
And I'm just gonna since Dave evoked Dennis Rodman, one of the greatest rebounders ever, I'm just gonna go Ralph here, like as if we have Ralph every 3 years or so, which we don't. But there's just not a guy, Mamadi. How many times did Mamadi come out of nowhere? Braxton Key to an extent, right?
Right.
And they would just clean stuff up by being in position like Dave's talking about. Like you see things where it's going to happen, where it's going to go, and those type of things.
I mean, I think my favorite on the help defense was Zay. Zay was always really good, like anticipating where he should be ahead of time. Yeah, his anticipation and knowing where to go and not just standing there and waiting and being in no man's land. He was always in a good spot. And we just don't have that today. And that's part of it is what Dave said with experience and playing together and all those things are lacking. So that makes this really hard, I think.
Well,
But it
we
is.
can name all the names, right? So much continuity at that either
Yep.
rim protection or quick help. You said Zay. I mean, let's just go back from today. We had Huff at the rim, right? He was G League Defensive Player of the Year with shot blocking, right? With him was Diakite for a long time, right? Then you go back to Zay. Then you go to Akil. You go to Darion,
Yeah.
right? So we always had, and even then from the wing spot, we had athletes too, like Justin Anderson or guys coming in like Trey Murphy or somebody like that that still could get there and create some havoc.
Right.
But yeah, all the way back to 2013, we've had those guys, and we just haven't had them this year. We had Dunn sort of 2 years ago, but he didn't play much, right? So I think that's what hurt us. And after Huff left in 21 for 22, 23, we didn't have it either, right? So and now we're kind of like that again with the problem too is our guards are so unathletic. We can't stay with guys, and then we don't have an eraser too, so it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look back at TB's first year, Fresh and I were talking about this. Down low, you had Jerome Mansay, who was young in terms of experience. Down low, we also had Will Sherrill. Asan Sen was a younger player as well, and that was pretty much it down low. Like not a ton, and we did not fare well that year. Right? I think that was the last time we lost 5 games in a row. Was also that season. But we
ACC
also had
schedule of 2010, we lost 9 in a row that year. So that was the last time we lost 5, and we lost 9. So that shows you how good we were. Haven't ever lost 4 in a row even since then. So till now.
Yeah, we have a caller in. He's a high profile one. His name's Chris Havlicek. He's watching probably as he's driving somewhere around Florida, maybe getting lightly snowed on down there. Probably not. We talked about this, him, and Dave, about passing to slots and guys reslotting. And this has a lot to do with anticipation we're talking about, even with rebounding. When a guy catches the ball in a certain situation and guys make yourself open for a pass and knowing when to throw a hard pass, when to throw a soft pass, knowing when to do a bounce pass. Rhodey's really good at it, the passing part. He can be really good. He can be really bad too at different times, but that's okay. But there's a good distinction to make. Let's watch how our guys, because we're playing so far out in the perimeter and we pass the ball so many times to start. I love Isaac McNeely. He just doesn't have a good knack for that ability to get the pass to they in soccer they call it the joker, Dave. The pass to make the pass.
Yep.
Like sometimes you got to hit. You're not making the assist. You're giving it to the next guy because he's got the assist, the hockey assist or whatever.
Yep.
So quickly, seamlessly, and knowing how to like do it, whether you need pace, not pace, bounce pass. Rhodey does that pocket pass, whatever that is, and people like so that. As we enjoy the season, guys, and you look for different things, and you try not to get bored at times, look for these little things. We're trying to help, and we might be reaching a little bit, but I think it's fun. I have fun.
No, it is. It's still fun. I still love watching us play.
Well,
You don't have to be in a championship caliber season every season. I mean, it's kind of tough to maintain that.
We talked about some bingo card items that we could potentially kind of mark off while you're watching. It kind of keeps you engaged. Like you could do the positive ones, like how many times we take a shot in the first 12 seconds of a shot clock or 10 seconds, name your time, right? How many times Buchanan catches and actually looks at the basket, versus just looking to pass, right? Or, just things within the game to kind of, maybe we'll make up a bingo card for the rest of the season for positives and negatives. But, times we actually go to the basket and draw a foul, maybe, from a guard perspective, or like Doug said, draw somebody in so that pass is easier to a more open guy, right?
Right.
I think that's the biggest challenge is we don't have guys who can beat anyone off the dribble. No Wiggle, no Sean Singletary, no even Kihei, right? Like could actually get past his first guy. He would get stuck in there because he'd go too far sometimes, but go past the first guy and dish. We just don't have anybody that can do that. I mean, literally, like who can like shot fake at the 3-point line and go past his man and draw another defender.
Right.
I don't think we Day is the
Well,
only guy I think that can do that.
How about Dave? Let's play this game tonight. Let's see, how often do we shot fake? Never. It's called being a threat. I never even thought about that. How often? I'm gonna watch that tonight. TW, keep me on my P's and Q's, and everybody else. Just catching it and not looking and do it. An actual Bryant Stith, T-Dubs, Bryant Stith shot fake, right? To draw a guy and then go. We don't see it.
You know why that is, I think? We catch the ball so far. We're not physical enough and aggressive enough to curl, catch it right at the 3-point line instead of catching it 27 feet out. Shot fake probably doesn't work. Now, they haven't tried it. McNeely could. He's still got to be honored from 27 feet. But, yeah, that's a great point. I'm watching with my 12-year-old. He's going through basketball clinics right now, and we're watching on Saturday. He's like, Dad, how come they never shot fake? How come they don't shot fake, drive past their man, and dish? It's he learns 3D, man, like Dick Vitale used to say, 3D, drive, draw, and dish, right, baby, right? And he's like, how come they never shot fake? You taught us that when we were 6.
All right, let's do a hat with this guy Chris Havlicek again. He's hogging the show. We have TJ Power coming in, a Worcester, Mass native, went to Duke. I still call him the Duke guy. He's at Virginia now. They're playing BC, where he was rumored to be going until he decided to come to Virginia. Do we see him, guys? T-Dubs, what do you think? As playing his hometown team, so to speak? Because we haven't seen him a lot. Any opinions on that?
Dave?
I think if it was in Boston, it would be, with the way the team's going right now, it would be malfeasance not to play him 20 minutes. With it being at Virginia, they might find reasons not to play him still. That being said, they didn't play Tain at all last game after Sanchez saying, hey, I would do it again, when he said putting Tain in at the end of the game for free throw shooting and defense, right? Then all of a sudden he doesn't play at all. So I really don't know what to make of the rotation. I think you can put him in there. I don't think tonight it's going to matter that much. He could play at the 3. He could play a little bit at the 4. I think Cuts mentioned it too. I'd still like to see Power and Saunders on the court together, and you could play TJ at the 4 defensively, and then have him stretch it as the 3 offensively. The challenge is then you're really slow at the 3-4 spot with Saunders and TJ. And if you keep McNeely in at the 2, you're really slow as well. So if you're going to bring those 2 in, you can't do it with Rhodey and McNeely. I think you could do it with Day and Sharma, because those guys are quick. But, maybe switch it up. I don't know if it's too late to switch it up for anything to work these days, but I would just tell those guys to go in and be confident, but shoot your shots when they're there, be aggressive. I feel like I'm filibustering and reasons why he could play, but
I just don't see the reason. I don't see the reason. Like, he just, when in the times that he's in, he just doesn't do much. Like, I'd love to see him be more aggressive and on both ends of the court. He just doesn't seem to do that. I don't know what it is, but hopefully that turns around. Everybody's waiting for the TJ Powers game, so hopefully it turns around and happens. But so far, like, it just hasn't clicked for him. I don't know.
Yeah, we've talked about this a couple of years, as the transfer portal wasn't such a when it was a newer thing, and we'd see guys come to Virginia, and you could see them trying to fit in, right? And after 5 or 6 games, we're like, no Trey Murphy III, whoever, like, just, it's your team, go. Stop being nice, stop fitting in. But we've seen that TJ, every time I've seen him play, he kind of is looking and deferring of, like, trying to fit in to the Virginia way, so to speak. It hasn't really taken advantage and used whatever his skills are.
T-Dub, what have you heard on the do no harm philosophy? It feels like people get to Virginia and it's like the first thing they get taught is don't turn the ball over, as opposed to making a good play. It feels like guys get there, and I'll bring this up. I was watching McNeely tape from high school, travel ball against Bronny. Do you remember seeing that clip? That clip of him against Bronny in high school? That game goes to overtime, And I'm just watching his movement. Super athletic, McNeely. Super elevation on his jumper, and his shot is up here like Larry Bird. It's above his head. Now he's slow. His shot got changed. It's down here. He can't get it off. He has no confidence in getting the ball off when he's super guarded. In that game, he was coming around, elevating over guys that were right on him, like Kyle Guy used to do, and knocking it down. Then it feels like you get to Virginia and there's like something coached into them or out of them on aggressiveness, on maybe this isn't a great shot, maybe it's not a great decision, and just kind of indecisiveness. I don't know. Have you noticed that or heard that from folks in the program?
When I ask people about that, it's usually the response I get. It's usually that the timing of the game and how they want to play, they've had to change their instincts for a lot of things. So there's that little hesitancy there where they have to like almost like, change it up a little bit because they're not used to playing a help defense. And then they're questioning themselves. Then there's that pause, and then they got to think, and then they go do, and then they're not doing it, and then they're late, and then it's just a snowball of that.
Yeah.
And everyone else is faster. Everyone else is doing their thing, and we're not so sure. And then the guys lose confidence. They can't get it done. Then it just takes a while for them to have it feel like an instinct, which is why Zay and Akil, that like it was an instinct for them. They got to the spot, they knew what to do. There was no hesitancy. Where I think, I talked to Tain about it. He was like, a lot of it is that like they're, the defense there is a little different. That first step is so much faster in college. They got to think twice about where they're going. If they go the wrong direction, it's completely over. So they got to think for a second, and that second is everything.
I'll tell you what, and it shows through. Like we've kind of had that theory for 3 or 4 years, right? If you're thinking, it feels to me so much, especially on offense, it looks like we are practicing during a game to be perfect at something. You got to you can practice at 3/4 speed or full, whatever, but when it's a game, it's not practice. You should have perfected this stuff at in practice. Now you got to go play, and that's what Tain. And I'm not surprised Tain sees that way. And some guys who are, he's an intelligent guy, I assume. Like you guys are talking about Akil versus Zay in that role.
Yeah.
The way Isaiah played, it looked like to me like he scouted a lot. I'll bet you he watched film on guys, and that Akil just said, "I own this. This is the pack line. This is how you do it. I don't care if it's Baycott, Hakeem Olajuwon, that was a joke. Hakeem would have destroyed us, or whoever else. He was going to play it perfectly." I thought Zay had a knack, like the next level knack to know personnel on the other team. I'm going to ask Isaiah this weekend.
I've heard one of the things Akil did was kind of like just put it all on himself. Like, I'm going to guard everybody. I'm going to know where everybody needs to be, and I'm going to fill in for everyone, which is obviously really difficult, but that was the mentality he had, which made him so good, where he's like, hey, I know this person's I'm going to know the scouting report for everybody, and I'm going to try to help on everyone. Which it showed, right? He felt like
I probably annoy people saying it. The first time I saw him in person, they're playing North Carolina. He was guarding 3 or 4 people every single possession.
Yeah,
and I don't care about. I don't understand Ralph. I don't understand big guys. I just watched him the entire game. That's how good he was.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say he would actually had that mentality. Like he scouted everyone. He wanted to know what everybody did, and in his mind, his job was to guard 5 people, and that kind of.
Zay learned from him, and Darius finally.
Well, and
all right, let's do the
real quick. An add on to that is Akil and Zay and those guys. They didn't play 35 minutes a game. They played about 26, 27 in their best years, right? So they could go all out. They didn't have to worry about foul trouble because they were in there all the time. We have guys that are playing too much to give full effort like that. And then when you're not a great athlete, then you're even more tired. We talked about with Rhodey, right? Rhodey looks like he's crossing the Sahara Desert. Sahara is my nickname for him. Every time he goes out there, I will never diss him on effort. He's all effort all the time. I think he's the one guy that this year has been said. It's just he's not an easy athlete, right? And so everything is hard.
Right.
And I think that's why he looks exhausted all the time, because everything is hard, right?
Right.
So
That's fair. All right, let's go. Predictions. What do you got, Fresh?
All right, Habs said 63. I'm going to say the exact same. No, I'm going to change it. We're favored by 8.
Yep.
I'm going to say 60-52 Virginia tonight. Habs 63-58 Who's.
Dave?
I'm going to go 58-57 Who's.
Ooh.
I like it. I like it. I'm going closer. I'm going 62-60 Who's in a barn
Nice.
burner,
Right.
but
I think we're all right
I
in the
like it.
same right in the same barn there.
All right, let's do
Let's
it.
hey Bill, let's make sure that we take that, let that ride, Sahara. It's not a diss. It's just, but when another team scores and Sahara's coming down court, you can see him. He's like looking for the camel for the water just so he can go get going and run the offense for us like he's been doing this season. So Sahara.
Love it. All right, game time. Sahara's on. Talk to you
Let's
later,
go.
fellas.
All right. See you
Go
guys.
Who's.